The Sinai Peninsula, a triangle of stone and sand, caught in a tectonic vise between Africa and Asia, its shores washed by the two arms of the Red Sea. This is more than a geological formation. It is a scar on the face of the planet, a bridge between worlds, trodden by the feet of armies and prophets, refugees and conquerors.
For millennia, we have viewed these mountains through the prism of sacred texts. Through the verses of the Torah, the Bible, and the Quran, we saw a desert of redemption, an arena for spiritual struggle. We saw the legends of Moses, of a bush that burned but was not consumed, of stone tablets etched by a divine hand. We saw what we were conditioned to see, a stage for miracles. But what if our eyes, clouded by faith and romance, have deceived us?
What if this wilderness conceals not wonders, but crimes?
Today, the era of guesswork is over.
We no longer rely on the disputed translations of decaying scrolls or the subjective accounts of ancient pilgrims. We now possess technology that sees through stone, through sand, through time itself. A team of international researchers deployed a military-grade drone over the peninsula's restricted zones, armed with LiDAR, light detection and ranging. This is no mere camera. It is a laser radar, firing millions of pulses per second, digitally undressing the landscape. It strips away the shifting sands, ignores the sparse vegetation, and exposes the true skeletal form of the Earth.
What the operators saw on their high-resolution monitors made geophysicists, historians, and military experts turn pale. The data does not lie. LiDAR knows no pity, no religion, no politics. And it told a story we were afraid to hear.
Over a plateau long considered uninhabitable, the sensors registered a geometric anomaly of breathtaking scale. Perfect right angles where there should be the chaos of natural erosion. Parallel lines stretching for kilometers. Thermal signatures betraying deep artificial voids, chambers and tunnels where solid granite should be. We have been taught to think of this era as a time of shepherds and tents, but the scanner revealed an industrial machine. Brutal, totalitarian, and for its age, impossibly advanced. This was not a place of quiet meditation. It was a giant, abandoned cemetery of imperial ambition. A planetary-scale crime scene, its evidence perfectly preserved by the arid climate, waiting to testify.
Why would the mighty pharaohs of Egypt squander the treasury of an entire empire? Why would they condemn tens of thousands of souls to near certain death, all to control this remote, waterless tract of scorched earth?
And more urgently, what global catastrophe could compel them to abandon it all in a single desperate moment, leaving their tools in the rock face and their temples half-built? The answer lies not in mysticism, nor in the wrath of forgotten gods. It is found in the cold, hard truths of geology, economics, and climatology.
And this answer is terrifying, because it mirrors, in meticulous and chilling detail, a future we ourselves may be destined to inherit. We are beginning our descent over the red cliffs of Sinai. We are entering a zone of historical turbulence where every step can be a revelation or a verdict.
To grasp the staggering scale of the discovery, one must first understand the instrument that made it possible. LiDAR, a technology that acts as a kind of X-ray for the planet. Mounted on a drone, it scans the surface with a density of up to 500 laser points per square meter, weaving a digital model of the terrain so precise it can reveal the faint traces of ancient roads, buried for millennia beneath meters of sand.
As the drone ascended over the brutally rugged and gorge-scarred western slopes of the Sinai Range, the operators in the base camp expected to see a familiar canvas, the natural signatures of erosion, wadis, the dry.
But then, the data processing algorithm began to flag anomalies. It began to paint the screen with a stark, urgent red. The computer was drawing lines, austere, parallel, impossibly straight lines. It was rendering perfect 90-degree angles, a geometric signature that nature itself never produces. Foundations, walls, roads.
At an altitude of 2,000 meters, in a region historians had long dismissed as a dead zone, utterly inhospitable due to its frigid nights and complete lack of water, the LiDAR was unveiling a complex and echeloned network of fortifications. These were not the temporary encampments of Bedouin nomads, their rough stones piled high as a mere shield from the wind. This was a permanent, engineered perimeter, a rigid, military frontier. The walls were 2 meters thick, constructed of massive stone blocks fitted with a precision worthy of the pyramid builders themselves. Watchtowers stood sentinel, positioned according to the unforgiving calculus of military fortification, designed to cover every approach to the canyons with an overlapping crossfire from archers. Staring at the digital map unfurling from the drone's data stream, a terrible realization dawns. This was not a pilgrimage route to a holy site. This was not a trade artery, bustling with merchants. This was a prison, a Bronze Age concentration camp, sprawling across the landscape on the scale of a small country.
The scans revealed that the entire territory surrounding the famed mining operations of Wadi Magara and Serabit el-Qadim had been transformed into a maximum security zone. This single discovery shatters our entire understanding of the region's history. If anyone passed through these unforgiving canyons, they did so only in shackles or under the watchful, merciless guard of the Medjai, Egypt's elite paramilitary police.
The drone flew on, but by a desperate thirst for the treasures locked within these rocks. The ghosts of Sinai do not merely tell a story of a distant past. They issue a warning, a chilling prophecy etched not in stone, but in the very climate that gave their civilization life, and then, in the blink of a geological eye, took it all away.
A broad road, swallowed by sand, cuts a line across the Har, a scar of intent, cleaving straight through the hills, a testament to a will that would not be turned aside. This ancient artery leads to the heart of a mystery, a place the Bedouin call Serabit el-Qadim. Here, upon a flat, wind-scoured plateau that rinners, pulsing with invisible light, have revealed vast geometric voids hidden in the bedrock. They are mines, but not the chaotic burrows of solitary prospectors digging on a prayer for fortune. This was a deliberate and sophisticated system of industrial extraction. LiDAR mapping reveals a subterranean city built for a single purpose: ventilation shafts engineered for airflow. Structural supports made not of local stone, but of imported Lebanese cedar, a sign of a supply chain stretching across kingdoms. Extraction galleries plunge for tens of meters into the mountain's core. The sheer volume of the excavated waste rock, now calculated with mathematical precision, is staggering. Colossal.
It is millions of tons of stone, moved by human hands. Contemporary analysis suggests that the workforce here was not in the hundreds, as once believed. It was in the thousands. Over the centuries, tens of thousands of souls labored here. They toiled in conditions utterly incompatible with life, under a merciless sun and the lash of the overseer, with no hope of return.
To understand this monumental effort, this fortress of suffering, we must descend from the heavens of technology and confront the brutal economics of the Bronze Age. We must ask what precisely the cyclopean walls discovered by the scans were built to protect. Why erect an impregnable fort at the edge of the known world, a place with no water, no food, nothing but the certainty of death?
The answer is composed of just 2 words: turquoise and copper. In our modern world, we have forgotten the profound power of these materials. But in the Bronze Age, copper was the new oil. It was the single most critical strategic resource. Without copper, there is no bronze. Without bronze, There are no weapons capable of piercing enemy armor. There are no tools strong enough to carve the stone for the pyramids. There are no chariots, no axles, no empire.
Egypt, the reigning superpower of its time, needed the Sinai Peninsula as a body needs air. For the pharaohs, this desolate plateau was their engine room, their strategic reserve. The Sinai was not merely territory, it was the source code of their supremacy.
But this desert did not surrender its treasures willingly. Analysis of multispectral satellite imagery penetrating the infrared spectrum has unveiled the ghosts of giant slag heaps, their dark residue concealed by a thin veneer of sand. Chemical analysis confirms their origin. They are the waste products of metallurgical production. This means that here, in the heart of the wilderness, stood industrial-scale smelting furnaces.
Imagine the conditions. The daytime air temperature reaches 45 degrees Celsius in the shade, of which there is none. The temperature at the mouth of a smelting furnace is over 1,000 degrees. A vision of an industrial inferno painted against the desert canvas. The air itself is a weapon, a cocktail of silica dust and the toxic fumes of arsenic, a common companion to copper ore. Men worked in shifts until they simply collapsed, their bodies consumed by the very treasures they were unearthing. Add to this the constant scouring dust storms and the chronic absence of water, and the place becomes a true portrait of hell on earth. And yet, about the water, high-resolution drone footage has documented strange circular structures carved directly into the rock surrounding the mines. Archaeologists, correlating the aerial data with ground excavations, have confirmed their function. They are cisterns, enormous hand-hewn reservoirs for the collection and storage of water. But this only deepens the enigma. From where did the water come in a desert so profoundly arid that rain might fall but once a year? The engineering required to build this industrial machine was immense, but the logistics required to sustain it, to give its thousands of workers a single cup of water, borders on the miraculous. The desert holds its secrets close. Beneath the sand, it preserves not only the tools and temples of a forgotten age, but also the silent testimony of the human cost required to fuel an empire. It reminds us that every great civilization is built upon a foundation of resources, wrested from the earth by anonymous hands, their stories and their suffering erased by the relentless march of time. Here, beneath the endless sands, a drone's unblinking eye uncovers the first chapter of a terrifying truth about our world. Its scanning technology peels back the skin of the desert, stripping away millennia of wind-blown dunes to reveal a ghost of a forgotten world. Etched into the bedrock are the skeletal traces of ancient, deep, and branching rivers. The LiDAR has erased the present to exhume the past. It sees a landscape from 4,000 years ago, a world so radically different, it defies imagination. The climate itself was another entity. Here, the rains came, not as a distant memory, but as a regular, seasonal promise, feeding a vibrant ecosystem of acacia and tamarisk. This was not the wasteland we see today. The ancient Egyptians, in their relentless expansion, did not march into a desert. They arrived in a drying savanna, a world turning to dust before their very eyes. They were witnesses to its final, agonizing breaths, and they understood. The pharaohs and their astronomer priests, with their meticulous observations of the heavens and the earth, knew the climate was changing. They saw the life-giving rains retreating north, abandoning these lands forever. Earth's final resources, before the encroaching desert swallowed everything whole. It was a frantic harvest at the end of a world. They sought copper, the metal needed for weapons to forge an empire. They sought turquoise, the celestial stone for amulets to promise an afterlife. And to win this race, they unleashed an army of slaves into this dying land,
forcing them to wring the last drops of life and treasure from the scorched rock.
But who were these people? Who paid the ultimate price for the pharaoh's ambition?
The answer is written in their bones. Scans of the ancient burials surrounding the mines are unequivocal. The skeletons bear the unmistakable trauma of inhuman physical stress. Vertebrae compressed under impossible loads, limbs fractured and crudely healed, joints warped by relentless toil. They were treated as expendable materials, human tools to be used and broken. And yet, their DNA and the marks they left behind tell an even more profound story. They were not Egyptians. The Egyptians were the overseers, the taskmasters. The labor was performed by Semites, by Asians, captives from the land of Canaan, the ancestors of the people spoken of in the Bible.
This discovery is shocking enough, but it is a second revelation brought to light by new methods of digital photography that changes our understanding of human history itself. A drone flying at an extremely low altitude over the sheer cliffs of Serabit el-Qadim captured thousands of high-resolution images, each from a slightly different angle of light. A computer then stitched them into a single three-dimensional canvas, and with a final command, the software was instructed to enhance the micro-contrast, pulling ghosts from the stone, revealing what 3,500 years of wind and time had erased.
On the rocks, signs appeared. Graffiti.
This was not the elegant canonical script of the Egyptian empire, carved by masters to praise a god-king. Nor was it the complex cuneiform of Mesopotamia. These were crude, hasty, desperate scratches, gouged into the rock with sharp stones or broken bronze tools. The head of an ox, a serpent, the sign for water, an eye, the figure of a man, his arms raised in prayer. For decades, linguists and epigraphers puzzled over these markings, giving them a name, Proto-Sinaitic script. But now, with a complete map of every inscription, their context has become brutally clear. They are found not in temples or palaces, but clustered around the most difficult and dangerous sections of the mines. They are the cries of the condemned.
And here, the truth we both feared and hoped for is confirmed. The single greatest invention of the human intellect, the phonetic alphabet, the very foundation of our literature, our science, our law, was not conceived by sages in the cool libraries of Alexandria. It was not inscribed by priests in the golden temples of Babylon. It was born here, in hell, forged by illiterate, anonymous, dying Semitic slaves, gasping for air in the copper mines of the Sinai, who in their final moments of desperation invented a new way to make a mark, a new way to cry out, a new way to be heard across the abyss of time.
In the shadow of the pharaohs, the great monuments were not built by hands alone. They were built on a foundation of silence. For the thousands of Semitic-speaking laborers toiling in the turquoise and copper mines of the Sinai, the written word was a locked chamber, a sacred code reserved for the elite. The intricate dance of Egyptian hieroglyphs, with its thousands of characters, was a language of power, a knowledge so guarded that for a slave to learn it was to risk death.
Yet the human spirit demands a voice. They needed to communicate, to leave warnings, but the opulent gods of the Egyptian pantheon were deaf to their pleas. They needed to cry out to their own deities, to Baalat, the Lady of the Mountain, begging for salvation from the crushing labor and the unforgiving sun.
And so, in the crucible of this oppression, they engineered one of the most profound revolutions in human history. They did not invent a new system from nothing. Instead, they hacked the old one. They looked upon the Egyptian pictures but with new eyes. They stripped the images of their complex, sacred meanings and kept only the ghost of a sound. The first sound of the word for that image in their own Semitic tongue. This was the principle of acrophony,
a stroke of subversive genius. The evolution is breathtaking in its simplicity. They saw the Egyptian symbol for an ox's head. In their language, the word for ox was aleph. They discarded the meaning of ox and kept only its initial sound, A. Turn that ancient pictograph, let the horns point to the earth, and in its stark silhouette, we see the unmistakable form of our own letter A.
They took the hieroglyph for a house, a simple floor plan to Egyptian eyes. In their tongue, a house was bet. This image became the vessel for the sound B. From this single, desperate innovation flows our letter B and the Greek beta. They saw the undulating line of water. For them, water was mem. That gentle wave was hardened into stone, forever representing the sound M. Our modern letter M still carries the echo of that ancient current.
Here, on these scorched rock faces, our literacy was born. Every character you read now, every word that forms in your mind, began as a prayer etched in stone, a message of hope born from pain, sweat, and blood. The awe that scientists feel in this place is mingled with a chilling realization. The civilization we inhabit rests upon the shoulders of slaves who, in their desperation, invented a way to scream into eternity. And their screams were heard. Deciphered inscriptions give voice to their suffering. "O Baalat, Lady, save me from these mines." One carving, a heartbreaking testament, reads, "I was beloved, but I was taken away." But then, the voices fall silent. A mystery deepens. Where did these thousands of people go? They left behind their tools, their graves, and their fledgling alphabet. But the people themselves vanished. The answer lies buried, a terrible secret kept by the sand itself, revealed only by the unblinking eye of modern technology. LiDAR scans, peeling back the layers of time, show more a catastrophic story. At a specific moment in history, around 1,200 years before the Common Era, an epoch known as the Bronze Age collapse, the very soil of the region changes with terrifying speed. The fertile layers, rich with pollen and organic life, simply disappear. They are replaced by a sterile, fine-grained sand and atmospheric dust. This was not the slow work of millennia, the gentle creep of a desert. Geologically, it was an instant, a cataclysm that unfolded over a few short decades. The monster that the ancients feared, the one that haunts our own subconscious today, had a name: mega drought, a total climate collapse. The entire Sinai Peninsula and the eastern Mediterranean were seized by a global climatic upheaval. The winds shifted, the rains stopped completely. The vast cisterns, spotted from the sky, dried up and were choked with sand. Oases withered into salt flats.
Imagine the horror. Thousands of people, trapped in military garrisons and mining camps, suddenly cut off. The wells run dry. The supply caravans cease. The sky offers no relief. There is no escape. A civilization, and the revolutionary idea it had just given the world, was being erased not by war or conquest, but by a silent, creeping death by thirst, choked by the very dust beneath their feet. Their bodies turned to dust, but their idea, their alphabet, proved more resilient than stone. It was a seed carried on the wind, finding fertile ground in other cultures, growing, adapting, and ultimately blossoming into the script we use today. The people were silenced by a force of nature, yet their intellectual cry became the foundation of our global conversation. They were lost to history, but they gave history its voice. In the heart of the scorched desert, life was a fragile proposition. Water and grain, the very elements of existence, were hauled by donkey caravans across hundreds of kilometers of unforgiving terrain, a lifeline stretching back to the verdant Nile Valley.
This was the umbilical cord, tying these remote outposts to the living world.
And then, one day, the caravans stopped coming.
Far away, the empire that sustained them was convulsing. Egypt itself was plunging into chaos. The Nile, the civilization's lifeblood, was shrinking in its banks. Crops withered in the fields. Famine stalked the land, giving way to civil war and the terrifying arrival of the enigmatic sea peoples. The empire retracted, pulling back its frontiers, its focus narrowed to its own desperate survival. It had no thought for its distant garrisons in the Sinai.
They were left utterly alone, marooned in a sea of sand, forgotten by their government, and, it must have seemed, abandoned by their gods.
High above the ruins, the unblinking eye of a drone captures the silent aftermath. It sees walls crumbled and broken, but these are not the scars of war. There are no signs of siege engines, no scorch marks from a desperate final assault. They were simply left to the elements, surrendering not to an enemy, but to time and the relentless wind. The people were gone. Had they walked away, trekking into the blistering unknown? Or did they perish right here, their final moments a descent into the madness of thirst?
The answer lies buried deeper in the dust of millennia.
Pollen, extracted from deep soil cores, taken from locations where advanced LiDAR mapping revealed the ghosts of ancient, dried-up lakes, confirms the silent testimony of the stones. The analysis is stark. The region's vegetation collapsed utterly within the span of a single human generation. This was not a slow decline. It was an ecological cataclysm. What our aerial survey uncovered is a chronicle of an apocalypse unfolding in real time. The great industrial machine of the pharaohs in the Sinai did not grind to a halt before an invading horde. It stopped because nature itself flipped the switch. The water was gone. A formidable warning, echoing across the millennia to an age wrestling with its own changing climate. But the drone's investigation did not end in the sun-scorched mountains. Its gaze turned north, toward the coast of the Mediterranean Sea, to the path of the legendary Way of Horus, the ancient strategic highway connecting the might of Egypt with the lands of Canaan, the territory of modern-day Israel and Palestine. Here, high-resolution satellite imagery, combined with ground-penetrating radar, peeled back the dunes to reveal a secret hidden for 3,000 years. A chain of buried forts. They stand at intervals of every 15 kilometers, precisely one day's march for a disciplined army. Fortress after fortress, a hardened artery of imperial power. Within their ghostly outlines, we can detect grain silos, promising sustenance, and the foundations of barracks that once bristled with soldiers. This was never just a road. It was the Maginot Line of the ancient world.
We had found the material proof of a vast, complex system of migration control. None could enter the riches of Egypt, and none could leave without a specific permit. A small clay seal, pressed with the mark of a powerful official, and a thorough interrogation. The sheer scale of the undertaking is staggering. Millions of mud bricks, shaped and dried under the brutal sun. Immense, water-filled moats, their presence now detectable only by sophisticated scans in a land where water is now a memory.
This discovery fundamentally overturns our romanticized vision of the biblical Exodus. If a large group of people, be they Hebrews or other Semitic slaves, attempted to flee from Egypt to Canaan, their journey would not have been a wandering pilgrimage through an empty, starlit wilderness. They would have been forced to break through the most heavily fortified, most militarized border zone on the planet. It would have been a desperate gauntlet of checkpoints, patrolled by the elite Magi special forces and the terrifying speed of Egyptian war chariots. This was not a simple flight to freedom. It would have been a guerrilla war.
And the scanning data offers a final, violent clue. Stations show evidence of catastrophic destruction. They were attacked,
They were burned. They fell.
The sands of the Sinai guard more than the ghosts of pharaohs and prophets.
They hold a starker truth, that the most formidable walls man can build are no match for a world without water, and that every story of a great escape is also, somewhere, the story of a great collapse.
And so they were burned, consumed by fire in the dying days of the late Bronze Age.
But by whom? Was it the climate refugees? A desperate human tide storming the fortified borders of the Egyptian Empire in a frantic search for food and water? Was it that very band of escaped mine slaves, the ghosts of the turquoise pits rising up against their masters? Or was it an external force, a wave of faceless invaders crashing against the shores of civilization?
Science does not offer us the comfort of a single name. It does not produce the staff of a prophet, nor the signet ring of a king. It offers something far more visceral, the stage itself, the set design for a cataclysm. And what a set it was, a brutalist landscape of concentric walls and deep-cut moats, a world of total control. A brittle system, shattered by the tremors of climate change and famine, destined for an inevitable, bloody rebellion. Yet the Sinai holds other secrets, more recent and no less terrifying.
Our drone, an unblinking eye in the sky, discovered something else entirely. Something belonging to an epoch terrifyingly close to our own. A discovery that makes the heart beat a frantic, metallic rhythm.
While scanning a mountain range in the eastern reaches of the peninsula, the drone's magnetometers, instruments that sing only in the presence of metal, recorded a violent anomaly in the magnetic field. It was powerful. It was localized. It was sharp. This was no trick of geology. Nature does not forge perfect right angles of metal weighing hundreds of tons beneath a shroud of ancient stone.
We turn to the military archives. The Six-Day War of 1967, the Yom Kippur War of 1973. The Sinai was the theater for some of the most grandiose tank battles in human history. A graveyard of steel where thousands of machines were consumed by fire, where hundreds of aircraft were torn from the sky. But this signal did not emanate from the sun-scorched surface. It came from the deep, from within a natural cavern whose entrance had been deliberately sealed by a directed blast.
What lies sleeping in that darkness?
Military experts analyzing the signature believe the drone has located a forgotten Egyptian or Israeli ammunition depot, or perhaps a secret command bunker, a nerve center abandoned in the chaos of war. The readings paint a picture of a massive rectangular form, a density of metal utterly alien to natural ore. It is a grim and potent reminder that the Sinai has always been a proving ground. From the war chariots of Ramses II to the Centurion and T-55 tanks of a modern age, this land is a crucible of conflict. It absorbs war as a sponge absorbs water. What we have found is an echo of that war, a dangerous, unexploded echo.
Some researchers, working from indirect data, speculate about something more sinister.
Chemical agents, perhaps, or vast stores of fuel buried in the haste of a desperate retreat. It is a chilling note of a modern techno-thriller, injected directly into our archaeological investigation. We gaze upon a map dotted with the sacred precincts of ancient goddesses, only to see it overlaid with the lethal geometry of 20th century minefields. Here, history is not a line, but a layering of death, each stratum poised to detonate if disturbed.
And there is one final discovery. One that cannot be seen with the eyes, but can be measured by precise instruments. The drone was equipped not only with LiDAR, but with highly sensitive microphones designed to analyze wind currents for flight correction through the treacherous canyons. Near Jebel Musa, the traditional Mount Sinai, where legend says the law was delivered on tablets of stone, the instruments recorded a strange and unique acoustic phenomenon. The mountains themselves conspire. They function as a colossal natural amphitheater,
a horn designed by geology and time that gathers, focuses, and projects sound. In this sacred, violent landscape, nothing is ever truly silent. It is a place that not only witnesses history, but amplifies its faintest whisper, its most terrible roar, for all eternity. The unique geometry of the gorges, the sheer density of the granite walls, and the unceasing wind corridors conspire to create an acoustic anomaly. Here, in certain focal points, sound itself is warped, focused, and magnified by a factor of tens. A mere whisper, uttered in the valley below, travels upwards along these invisible channels, arriving at the summit not as a faint echo, but as a distinct, intelligible voice. Conversely, a voice from the peak descends not as a shout, but as a peal of thunder, a physical presence that blankets the entire valley floor. Acoustic engineers, analyzing the drone's topographical data, arrived at a startling conclusion. This is a perfect natural stage. Here, a single human being, standing on the summit, could address a congregation of thousands gathered at the foothills. The wind, funneling through the canyons, would carry their voice to every listener, not merely transmitting it, but transforming it, distorting its frequencies, imbuing it with a low-frequency vibration that resonates deep within the human body. All of this accomplished with no microphones, no amplifiers, only the raw physics of stone and air.
For us, it is a marvel of acoustics. But for the ancients, who knew nothing of wave propagation or fluid dynamics, this was absolute, undeniable magic. It was a voice from the heavens, the very word of God, a trumpet blast from which the knees buckle and the soul trembles. We have found a material explanation for the phenomenon of revelation. The geology of this place seems purpose-built to be heard, as if the land itself were designed to amplify a message. The mysticism may dissolve against the cold laws of physics, but the majesty of the location is only amplified. It suggests that nature, in its patient geological time, had constructed a temple of sound millions of years before the first prophet ever arrived to speak from its altar.
Far to the east, on the wildest fringe of the scanned territory, the drone encountered a stretch of desert that glittered in the sun with such impossible intensity that its optical sensors had to be recalibrated to avoid burning out the matrix. It was not sand. It was sand that had been turned to glass. Vast fields of greenish-yellow glass, scattered for kilometers, their fragments as sharp as freshly knapped flint. The immediate thought was tektites, or perhaps the famed Libyan desert glass. But chemical analysis told a different story.
These were the footprints of a thermal event of unimaginable power, the kind of power usually associated with a nuclear detonation. Yet there were no nuclear tests here. The official scientific explanation points skyward, a meteoritic impact. Not a crater, but an airburst. A celestial body, a bolide, tore into the atmosphere and exploded high above the surface, an event akin to the Tunguska incident, but orders of magnitude more powerful. In that single blinding flash, the temperature at the epicenter soared to thousands of degrees. The desert floor melted instantly, its silicon transformed into a liquid molten sea, which then cooled into these bizarre frozen shapes.
Dating the cataclysm is difficult, but it left an indelible scar upon the face of this land, a scar that serves as a chilling reminder that the greatest threats come not always from drought or famine or war. Sometimes they come from the heavens, suddenly and without warning. The ancient peoples who lived here, or the nomads who traversed these plains, would have witnessed it. A pillar of fire, the wrath of the gods made manifest, the very event that could inspire legend. Looking upon these fused, glassy stones, it becomes clear. Many of the ancient chronicles,
of heavenly fire and sulfurous rain are not mere fantasy. They are rooted in a real, physical memory. Something exploded here. Its force was monstrous, capable of incinerating a civilization in the blink of an eye. The terror of that moment was seared not only into the landscape, but into the collective human psyche, passed down through generations as myth and holy writ. The earth itself bears witness, speaking of its deepest traumas not in words, but in stone and glass, waiting for us to finally learn its language.
But the most vital, the most paradoxical discovery for the future of this region was made not on the surface, but deep within the earth. Using ground-penetrating radar, the drone peered through the bedrock, its signals piercing the dead expanse, seeking answers from the silent stone. And there, hundreds of meters down, held within the porous matrix of the Nubian sandstone, it found water.
Not just water, but fossil water. A vast, silent reservoir, an aquifer left behind from a forgotten epoch. A time when this desert was a green savanna, when rains fell and rivers carved paths through the land. This is paleo water, pristine and filtered by stone, sealed away for 10, perhaps even 20,000 years. A memory of a wetter, gentler world, locked in the deep.
The discovery is staggering in its cruel irony. For millennia, civilizations rose and fell on this scorched earth. People died of thirst. Tribes warred over a single muddy well. They prayed to the heavens for a drop of rain, while directly beneath their feet, a veritable freshwater sea lay waiting, a treasure within reach of any drill. An ocean of life, completely unknown to the generations who suffered and perished just above.
Today, that water is a resource of immense strategic importance,
More precious in this part of the world than gold, oil, or platinum. But there is a fatal catch. This is a closed system. It is not a river that is replenished by rainfall. It is a one-time inheritance. A jar of water that can never be refilled. To pump it now is to bring the desert to life for perhaps 50 years, to grow gardens in the sand and build fleeting cities of green. But what then? Then the story ends. The water will be gone forever, and the desert will return, more brutal and unforgiving than before. The drone has given us a treasure map, but the treasure is cursed. To take it is to knowingly bankrupt the future, leaving nothing for the generations to come but sand and dust. When all the data points located by the drone are woven together, the gigabytes of information coalesce into a single, terrifying tapestry. A picture of the past that frightens with its clarity and realism, stripping away myth to reveal a harder truth.
First, industrialization. This land was never an empty, mystical stage for religious drama.
It was a powerful industrial center of the ancient world, a factory for resource extraction, running on the blood of slaves and the force of military might.
Second, total control.
A vast network of forts, walls, and blockades turned the entire region into a closed zone, a concentration camp on a continental scale, a prison of rock and heat from which escape was all but impossible.
Third, the invention of freedom.
Yet, from the depths of this immense prison, as a direct reaction to the unbearable oppression, an idea was born. The first alphabet. History's first true instrument of informational freedom, empowering the common man to speak directly to his gods and to his fellow human beings, bypassing the scribal elite.
Fourth, the climate's verdict. The civilization that built this empire of stone and sand did not fall to the swords of barbarians. It was brought down by the sun. A mega drought killed the garrisons, shattered the supply lines, and forced a great migration of peoples across the land.
And fifth, acoustics.
The mountains themselves are engineered by nature to act as perfect amplifiers, as immense horns that carry and magnify the human voice, creating the powerful illusion of a divine, disembodied presence speaking from the heavens.
What we feared most has been confirmed. We were afraid to learn that history contains no magic, only the brutal logic of survival, the ceaseless struggle for resources, and the indifferent cycles of climate. The drone affirmed this with every pixel of its data. All miracles, it seems, have a physical explanation. Every myth is built upon a real, solid foundation of stone and sweat, of blood, geological anomalies, and the unforgiving realities of a changing world.
Across the thermal maps and three-dimensional models, the ghosts of the past take form. We are not looking at mythical heroes, at gods or prophets etched in stone. We are looking at, they were a people struggling to survive in the grip of a changing climate. A people who built walls to protect their wealth from the desperation of hungry migrants. A people who, in their final moments, carved pleas into the cave walls. Save me, because there was no one else left to hear their prayers.
The drone returns to base, its batteries drained, its mission complete. Its memory is saturated with terabytes of data, a digital ghost of a lost world that scientists will now spend years deciphering. As its hum fades, the Sinai desert sinks back into its ringing silence. The wind begins its patient work, erasing the tracks of our machines, but it cannot erase what has been revealed.
We have torn away the veil of centuries. We have dissected this region as a pathologist would a body, searching for the true cause of death. And we have found it. It was not a single affliction. It was a perfect storm.
There was the avarice of empire, a rapacious exhaustion of the land's resources. There was the sudden, catastrophic shift in climate that turned fertile ground to dust. And then, a technological disruption, the alphabet itself, a tool that shattered the elite's monopoly on knowledge and fractured the very structures of control.
It is an echo from a distant time, yet it sounds unnervingly familiar. The history of Sinai is a mirror. Through the lens of our most advanced technology, we gaze into its depths and see a reflection of ourselves, our civilization. We too erect barriers against the displaced. We too drain our planet's resources to their very dregs. We too stand on the precipice of global climatic changes that threaten to turn our gleaming cities into the ruins of tomorrow.
The desert does not need to speak. The facts, unearthed from the soil and captured from the sky, scream louder than any prophet's voice. The ancient dust settles once more, but we now know what it conceals. This knowledge brings no comfort, no religious ecstasy. It brings a cold, sober understanding of just how fragile our world is, and how easily the sands of time can swallow even the greatest walls, the most powerful empires, and the proudest names.